Well, after years of anticipation and all the hype surrounding the release of Destiny, does it truly rise the occasion to become the first true innovative IP for the current gen systems? Well, it certainly tries. The story to Destiny takes place in the distant future, in which during our first man's missions to Mars, a group of astronauts discovers a giant floating sphere known the Traveler that allows humanity to use it to make other planets habitable. However, over time, an evil force known as the Darkness comes to our galaxy and devastates humanity, forcing the Traveler to create little-known beings known as Ghosts to search for Guardians of the Light. When your character is awoken and travels to the last city on Earth known as the Tower, you are told that it is your job as a Guardian to travel to all the nearby planets to defeat the forces of evil. Unfortunately for the players, however, that is really the entire plot of the game. There are no twists, your character goes through no development, and you don't even get enough time to spend developing the extremely small cast of characters Destiny has to offer. Even Game of Thrones' Peter Dinklage's voice as your Ghost is uninteresting in his monotone voice telling you exactly what's going to happen next or what enemies you're about to encounter. You may want to believe that the story picks up halfway through when your character encounters a set of royal siblings, only to be disappointed with how they are simple plot devices telling you where to go next. And even when you finish completing an 8 to 10 hour campaign, I'm sure even the most hardcore sci-fi fanboy will find the ending pointless and underwhelming. Now in Destiny, you will find that the gameplay mechanics for the most part are spot on. Acting as an online-only first-person shooter will certainly feel like a delight at first. The driving and the shooting controls are very responsive. Interacting with the environment is enjoyable, and the amount of customizations between your character classes, armor selections, weapon variety, and choice of vehicles is certainly vast. All of these elements make for a very strong base to place any game in. However, it's how these elements are used and when the gameplay gets repetitive after the first few hours that your enjoyment of Destiny may begin to fall apart. Take for example the campaign. No matter which planet you visit, or whether you choose to play solo or with other players, every single mission you choose throughout the entire game plays out like this. You will start off at a position. Your Ghost will tell you that you need to go here. Once you get there, you'll eventually run into some door or computer that needs to get hacked. Once you send your Ghost out to begin hacking, you will then fight off wave after wave of enemies until your Ghost says it's time to move on to the next location, in which you will repeat this process 2 or 3 more times until either the mission ends, or you happen to run into a level boss, which is pretty much just an oversized enemy which acts just like every other enemy that you've encountered over the course of the game, only difference being that it can absorb 20 times more damage as your regular enemies go. You will also find yourself traveling through the exact same locations over and over again, and the only difference being that at a certain point, instead of taking a left, you will take a right. Now, it's not to say that the gameplay itself is boring. The enemy designs are pretty cool to look at, and in combat they are actually quite good at attacking in large groups and using covers, flanking maneuvers, and grenades to force you from your position, and at times it can get quite challenging on the harder difficulties, requiring you to do a bit of maneuvering around in order to survive. However, once you've maxed out your character to level 20, you will have complete access to all the game's slight difficult gameplay modes like Raid, when it gets finally released. However, these other modes seem to be nothing more but repeats of story or strike missions that you've already achieved throughout the main campaign. After finishing the main campaign, the only thing left to do is try out the multiplayer matches. Unfortunately, in terms of match modes, there's really nothing here that you haven't already seen in other first-person shooters. Matches range from team deathmatch to capturing command positions to free-for-all kill every other player in sight. The gameplay mechanics do give a much greater sense of freedom, allowing you to maneuver around the well-designed maps, giving you much more fluid experience than you would in other shooters like Call of Duty or Battlefield. Now, where Destiny truly shines is in its level design department. The developers at Bungie show off their masterful skills at designing worlds that give the player a lot to do outside of the actual main gameplay format, and its vast amounts of excavation has a lot to offer. All of the worlds that you will visit throughout Destiny are truly breathtaking in the amount of attention to detail and the sheer amount of time you will spend finding all the secret passageways that there are to find. You will explore the ruins of old Earth to the desolate deserts of Mars, to the run-down stations on the Moon, to the majestic landscapes of Venus. These maps are so massive that one could literally lose themselves in the sheer enjoyment of exploring all those secret locations each map provides instead of focusing on the main's present set of objectives. The score also adds a sense of adventure and wonder as you will travel all across these worlds to complete objectives, battling against enemies, or even taking a break or two to simply soak in the rich environments that Destiny has to offer. Now, in conclusion, Destiny is not at all a bad game in any way, sense, or form, but the problem is that it's just not a truly great game. In a whole, Destiny turns out to be nothing more but a very pretty first-person online shooter, and that's really all it has to offer. There's really not much of a story, and most of the gameplay mechanics, although they're very sharp and responsive, it's really nothing that you haven't already seen in other games. Now, unfortunately, because there's really a lack of a story, I've heard there are going to be releasing DLCs that have maybe a couple of extra story elements or future gameplay modes, but I really do not think any game should be based off the notion that you have to get this game in order to get the DLCs. I think any truly great game has to stand on its own 2 feet with or without DLC content. And to answer a real serious question of whether or not you should get this on the current gen consoles or the last gen consoles, the answer to it is just get it on whatever console you currently own, because the difference between playing it between PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4, which I did happen to get a chance to do, is that it's slightly sharper on the PlayStation 4, but it does not take away from the overall visual look that Destiny will provide if you do happen to get this on the PlayStation 3. You are getting a full experience if you do choose to get it on the older consoles. Now, if I had to give this game a rating, it would have to be a 7 out of 10. Not the really great, innovative new IP that we were all expecting, but I absolutely would suggest that you at least give this game a try just to kind of get a feel for what Destiny really is as a whole, being a very masterful, visual, stunning experience. Now, if you like this game review, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to check out my future game reviews. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.